Chris, this is where the Flores thing becomes real. And, you could call it cynical or you could call it the way business gets done in America and probably the rest of the world. If Michael Bidwell is thinking about, as he should be, lawyer, former prosecutor, he understands the realities of the Brian Flores litigation against the NFL and the teams that he sued and then later joined. He's got the Dolphins, Broncos, Giants, and Texans at the table. And then Steve Wilks, the former Cardinals coach, joins Flores and brings Bidwell's team into the crosshairs under the argument that they hired Steve Wilks to fail in 2018, set him up to fail, and then fired him, made him the sacrificial lamb for a crap season before they moved on to Cliff Kingsbury, an relatively unaccomplished college coach who arguably had no business being an NFL coach in the first place. So Bidwell realizes the net gain of hiring Brian Flores to this separate and significant legal concern that anyone who owns and operates a business would have. They still don't know whether or not the Flores, Wilks, and Ray Horton litigation is going to be resolved in open court, where it will be a fair shake for everyone, which is bad news for the people with the money, or whether it gets resolved in the secret rigged kangaroo court of Roger Goodell, where arbitration requires all of these disputes to go before him. And what a shock. He's going to have a bias in favor of the people who pay him. I'm sorry, no matter how hard you try not to have a bias in that setting, you will have a built-in bias. You shouldn't even want to resolve that dispute when you know you've got the built-in bias. So we don't know where that stands. We're almost a year from the filing of the lawsuit. We have no idea where it's going to go. This helps the NFL's legal posture. It helps Michael Bidwell's legal posture. Oh, and by the way, I was talking to somebody about this last night. Well, this should be about whether or not Brian Flores deserves to be a coach. Well, both can be true. He can deserve to be a coach, and it can help the legal posture. It's a win-win-win. Everybody wins. Everybody wins. We take some of the steam out of this lawsuit. The Cardinals get a coach who has proven he can get it done. Brian Flores versus Cliff Kingsbury, I don't need to flip that coin more than once. I know which way I'm going based on what I've seen during their respective 3 years as head coaches. So you get a good coach, a guy who they desperately need to turn Kyler Murray around or not. Bring it to a head. If it's not going to work, fine. We'll figure it out that way. But it helps your legal situation. It helps your football team. It helps Brian Flores. As I said, win, win, win. I don't know that it's going in that direction, but it's not going to surprise me if it does.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it does. I just hope that the decision's not made just because of that, though. That would be the only thing.
That's my point. It can be both.
I know it can be both. I hope it. I know, and I hope it is both. And I hope it's more about the coaching because the guy deserves to be a head coach. Period. And we know that. I mean, I don't think anybody that knows football knows Brian Flores is made to be a head coach in the NFL. Yeah, I just don't want it to be purely about that and fighting the law consequences there. But either way, it's a business. It's a business.
Football is business.
I get it. I know.
Football is business.
And I do think it's good business.
It's part of the business.
For Brian Flores to come into town, too. I think he's, really in a lot of ways, almost the exact opposite of Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, you're going to get hard-nosed. It's about the team, detail, blah, 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 all of that. And in Arizona, one of the issues, or at least, from the outside looking in, is it does seem like there's a little bit of individuality there. It's a lot of, solo enterprises on their team. And, they didn't seem like they had that cohesiveness there. That's where Brian Flores can bring that back and bring everybody back to earth and explain to them, hey, screw your highlights or whatever money you're making or whatever. We got to come together the right way here. And I can certainly see Brian Flores being the cup of tea that Monty Ossenfort likes and Michael Bidwell to kind of get this organization going back in the right direction.
We talked last week about what it's going to take to get Kyler Murray to punch through to the next level of his career, to realize you can't just rely upon your God-given abilities to run circles around everyone. That 4-hour-per-week study clause was in the contract for a reason. They weren't just sitting around with some random contract clause generator saying, what can we put in here just so we feel like we're getting fair value in return for our money? What can we throw in here just to be a pain in the ass? What can we do just so we feel like we got something? No, it was in there because they don't think he works hard enough. Logic and common sense prevail sometimes still in this day and age. That clause was in there because they didn't think he was working hard enough. And Brian Flores will make damn sure that Kyler Murray understands the effort put in and the results that come from it. And, if Tom Brady doesn't play in 2023, maybe he can get Tommy to give Kyler a phone call from time to time and just explain to him what it takes to be the best that you can possibly be. And that it's not, and I think Kyler Murray has realized it's not enough about just showing up and being more physically gifted than everyone else. It's about the effort, it's about the work, and it's about the commitment. And I think Flores, if, we talked about Peyton possibly being able to get Kyler Murray to make the commitment, I think Flores could get him to make the commitment too.
Yeah, I hear that for sure. I mean, he's got, one thing you'll know about Brian Flores is just how honest, real, knows what it takes to be successful, going to shoot you straight. I think that's where he can relate to players and turn, a quarterback and an organization that seems a little bit all over the place right now, and they could bring it together there and be stable. And again, I'm always, I know they're going to interview Flores and D'Amico Ryans. I'm never a fan of, I love D'Amico Ryans, should be a head coach as well. I'm not a fan of bringing the coordinator, from within the division to my head coach to my team. I wasn't in favor of Shane Waldron going to the Seattle Seahawks just for that reason, right? From the Rams, Seattle. Wait, so now you can.
What about Flores to the Dolphins?
Well, it's not my favorite always. I don't love that because of the same. Wait, you're gonna play against the guy that twice a year that taught you the tricks, and now your tricks aren't going to work, and there's going to be some understanding within the division. I don't love that aspect. I know it can work, and it's worked throughout time here and there, but I'd rather bring in fresh idea, and that's where I feel like Flores would fit well in there. It's just there is no defense like him in that division, and he could be a pain in the butt for people like McVay and Shanahan and trying to figure out offensive game plans.
Well, we'll see where it goes, and I have no inside information. I know that there is a rumor making the rounds that Michael Bidwell is very concerned about this litigation and understands the benefits and the detriments to hiring or not hiring Brian Flores. I mean, look at what happened last year. The Texans interviewed Brian Flores, didn't hire him, and they got joined to the lawsuit for failing to hire him in retaliation for the lawsuit that he filed. There is legal protection for retaliation against people who have had the audacity to advance their legal rights. People don't understand that. I mean, it's amazing to me. I think Kent Summers wrote an item for the Arizona Republic about why would basically Michael Bidwell want to hire the guy that sued the NFL and sued the Cardinals, even though he didn't sue the Cardinals, Steve Wilkes did, but it's all part of the same lawsuit. That's the natural reaction, but the law protects. Otherwise, no one would assert their legal rights. My rights have been trampled upon, but I fear that if I stand up for myself, they'll retaliate against me. Well, they can't. They can, but you have enhanced legal rights if they do. So the net gain to the Cardinals from a business standpoint, legal standpoint, football standpoint, I'm going to be surprised. And there's people around the league think it's coming, and it could be that Monty Ossenfort was hired specifically to make it seem like it's his decision.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.